In today's video, we're going to be playing with the NHL Draft Lottery Simulator with the updated NHL standings and see, as of today, who would be picking #1 overall, and then we're going to do a mock draft based on NHL player prospect rankings and do the top 10. We'll get into that coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned today, we're going to do another NHL Draft Lottery Simulation. We've been doing a video of this nature about every 4, 5, 6 weeks or so, just taking a look at the updated NHL standings and running the simulator to see who would be picking first overall if the Draft Lottery were taking place today. Of course, this is just a simulation. Of course, it's not likely going to be exactly the way this came out, but it's just fun to take a look at how it could go as of now and then see what prospects they would end up drafting based on those situations. Of course, later when we get closer to the draft and we know what the actual draft rankings are and we know who's picking where, we'll do some mock drafts based on actual, team needs and what kind of makes the most sense for them at that point in time. Today we're just kind of doing it based off player rankings and how the lottery simulator worked out. So let's take a look here at the top 10 picks. So I'll go through and show you from 10 up to 1 who ended up getting the selection and what prospect they ended up taking. The number 10 pick belongs to the New York Rangers, and we have them selecting forward Dylan Holloway from the University of Wisconsin. Holloway is a Canadian-born player, 18 years old, from Calgary, Alberta, was invited to the World Junior Championship team of Canada's tryout camp. Unfortunately, did not make the team, but still had a pretty good showing, having a pretty decent season at the University of Wisconsin. It would end up going in number 10 here to the New York Rangers. Number 9 selection belongs to the Chicago Blackhawks, and they would select Russian goaltender YAROSLAV ASKAROV, who is really projected to be one of the highest and best prospect goaltenders in a really long time. Of course, he's been playing over in the KHL, doing a phenomenal job over there. Played for Team Russia at the World Junior Championships that just finished here in the past week. Had a decent tournament, but certainly had some shaky times as well. But you got to remember, he's still only 17 years old, where a lot of the top players in the tournament were 19, approaching 20. It is a bit of a different beast in that regard, and does not mean he will not become a solid NHL goalie. I don't really think his draft rankings is really impacted a whole lot by his play. I think he's kind of still going to be in that, around that 9-10 range in the first round, but he's a solid NHL goalie. And the only problem with some of these picks, especially Russian goaltenders, is how quickly is it going to take to get him to come to North America. That's the big question. A lot of times these players can stay over and play in the KHL and make more money than what they could on an entry-level contract, so they often stay for a few years, get the shorter entry-level deal in the NHL, and then go into their first contract as an RFA and start making the better money. A lot of that does boil down to financial reasons why they do that, and of course they do like to play at home a little bit longer as well. But Askarov's a terrific young goaltender. He's drawn some comparisons to a guy like Andrei Vasilevsky. I think he's going to be an awesome NHL goalie. Just a matter of getting there. And really, I think he'd be a great fit in Chicago, considering where their goaltending is at right now. A lot of question marks with Crawford and Leonard having UFA status. He could certainly jump in there really quickly and become a star early on with the Hawks. The number 8 selection belongs to the Montreal Canadiens, the hometown team for the draft, and they're selecting Finnish player Anton Lundell. Now, unfortunately for Lundell, he missed the World Junior Championships with an injury, did not get to showcase his skills as the best junior players went head-to-head in that tournament, but he's a very well-rounded center iceman with great vision, great puck handler, great passing skills, can play in all situations, really could project quite nicely to be like a middle 6 center iceman. I'm not sure he's going to be a top-line type of player at the NHL, but it's still a little early to tell. But either way, because he's so well-rounded, that's why I kind of project him to be maybe that solid number 2 center, maybe number 3. It's hard to say depending on how deep the team he's on, but the Habs will certainly benefit from another great center iceman in their organization. The number 7 picks belongs to the New Jersey Devils, and they select Swedish player Alexander HOLTZ, who had a pretty solid World Junior tournament for Team Sweden. He's a very skilled offensive player. He's a solid, pure goal scorer. Certainly has a great shot, smart player, good vision. And the only weakness, if I had to pick on it, would be his skating a little bit. But it's not that it's really all that weak, just not as strong as some of the players ranked ahead of him here. But HOLTZ certainly has a ton of potential and could prove to be a top scoring winger at the NHL level. The number 6 pick belongs to the Los Angeles Kings, and they would select the top defenseman of the draft, Jamie Drysdale, who had an opportunity to play for Team Canada as a 17-year-old at the most recent World Junior Championships, had a great tournament. He's an incredibly smart defenseman. He rarely makes mistakes. He just always makes the right decisions on the ice. Certainly goes a long way to helping him defend well as transition up the ice. He's an elite skater. He can play on a power play as a quarterback. Kinds of offensive upside. He is by far the top defenseman in this draft, and it's not even close. Next up, the number 5 pick would belong to the Ottawa Senators, and this would be their own pick that they would have from their own first-round selection, and they would be selecting Cole Perfetti from the OHL in Saginaw. Now, Perfetti is another dynamic offensive player who came really close to making the Team Canada roster as a 17-year-old for the World Junior Championships, but he's another pure goal scorer, really smart player. He's got a wicked shot, a very creative offensive guy. Some scouts say he could work on his skating a little bit to be a little bit more explosive, to create a little bit more time and space for himself, but he certainly projects to be really high, really solid, well-rounded top 6 forward. The number 4 selection belongs to the Detroit Red Wings, and they're going to be selecting German-born forward Tim Stützle. Stützle has been playing in Germany. He's an incredibly smart, quick player, natural center iceman, but often plays the wing. Has very high offensive upside here. Had a great tournament with the German team at the World Junior Championships. Certainly stood out as being one of their top players as a 17-year-old, so he certainly has a lot of upside. His play at that World Junior Championship probably elevated him more in the draft rankings than just about any other player here. He really had a solid tournament, and he's the big part of the reason why Germany was able to avoid relegation and drop down to the 1A group at the World Juniors. Stützle does not make the NHL right away as a first-round pick next year. I can certainly see him being a huge player for the Germans and one of the most exciting players to watch in this tournament next year. Next up, the number 3 pick belongs to the Anaheim Ducks, and they'll be selecting Swedish-born player Lucas Raymond, who's playing in Sweden for Frölunda, and as well had a pretty decent World Junior Championship tournament for Team Sweden. Lucas Raymond's a very well-rounded, highly skilled winger, exceptional hockey sense. He's got a great shot, terrific hands, strong defensively as well, really tough to play against. He'd be a great fit with the Anaheim Ducks. They certainly need to go through a bit of a rebuild here and get some more high-end talent in the forward position, and he certainly could jump to the NHL relatively quick. Might not be ready for the first year right after the draft, but certainly within the second year could make some leaps and bounds with another year in Sweden and come over and be an impact player right away. Next up, the number 2 pick belongs to the Buffalo Sabres. The Sabres had pretty good luck in this draft lottery simulation. Of course, the Sabres would select the big center from Sudbury, Quinton Byfield. Now, Byfield had a fairly quiet World Junior Championship. He's only 17 as well, like some of the other players we talked about in this draft, but still, he did not have a great tournament. Wasn't really given a big role by Dale Hunter and the coaching staff of Team Canada, but overall, I really don't see that affecting his draft stock too much. Really, a lot of these scouts do not put a lot of stock into what happens at the World Juniors, but he's 6'4". He's got a great mix of speed, skill, and strength. Projects to be a number 1 center iceman. I don't see too many teams passing on this player because he didn't stick out as being an exceptional player at the World Juniors. I can still see him going number 2 overall. The number 1 overall selection in this draft simulation goes to the Ottawa Senators by way of the San Jose Sharks from the Erik Karlsson trade. And of course, they're going to take the projected number 1 overall selection, Alexis Lafreniere, who had a terrific and dominating World Junior Championship, was tournament MVP, really solidified himself as the number 1 selection if he really didn't need to, in my opinion, but he certainly did that. There is a huge gap between him and Quinton Byfield at this point, and there's nobody that's going to be catching Lafreniere and having a shot at going number 1 overall, in my opinion, after watching that tournament. Like I said, I know that a lot of scouts don't put a lot of stock into it, but if there was any doubt that Lafreniere was number 1 in this draft, that was solidified at this most recent tournament. He's big, he's strong, he's physical, and he's incredibly skilled. He's a great skater. He's a winger and so not a center, but other than that, he really does it all and can be a type of winger you can build your franchise around as a cornerstone, like we see, like for example, like an Alex Ovechkin. Not quite sure he's going to be an Ovechkin type, be a 50-goal scorer, because he's certainly a terrific playmaker, more so than Ovechkin is, but certainly not afraid to play physical like Ovechkin and can be that kind of cornerstone player, even though he's a left winger. So Lafreniere goes to the Senators by way of San Jose in this draft simulation. That completes another round of the NHL Draft Lottery Simulator, of course, and this time we've seen the San Jose Sharks have some incredibly bad luck with their first overall selection going to Ottawa because of the Erik Karlsson trade. So of course, as always, we'll know your thoughts and opinions on how this one turned out, and let me know which NHL team you think most desperately needs and deserves that #1 overall selection. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments and we'll continue the conversation. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing and turning on your notifications so you don't miss any future content, and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it as well. I'd appreciate it if you did. As always, thank you for watching, and I will catch you next time.